There you have a turbo chook with a couple of young uns. There's one up the back there, and that's their defensive noises. So off into the wilds of Fern Glade, once more looking for live platypus shots, but there'll be other animals, I'm sure. And if nothing else, there's always lots of bird song in this remnant of Gondwanaland, with all the tree ferns and the upwellings of the eucalypts through them. Basically walking along the Emu River, there on the far bank you can see the heights of the eucalypts, and from time to time, because it's dynamic, they will drop over and fall down into the emu, which is very slow moving at this point. That bank area along there is the sort of places where a platypus would live, but no sign of them yet. Into the forest we go. Really quite another world in here, very calming. 2nd of February today. You feel the temperature drop as you come into the forest. I hope we're picking up those kookaburras. This is wallaby country as well. We'll see what we find. Kookaburras are going berserk today. Quite lush and green at the moment in here. We've only had I don't know, 3 mils of rain in the last month, but the soil here remains damp and moist. You can see some of these tree ferns have a fair size to them, and there's some others that are really quite extensive. Must be 4 or 5 metres high. It's like stepping back into an ancient world. An ancient world with a made path, but you know what I mean. Just hear the water in the background, but you can see she must roar through here. There's some flood debris. A lot more on the other side of that little channel. Starting to climb. Breeze is starting to pick up with the shade on this side and the sunlight over there, giving a temperature difference. A closer look at the pile of flood debris. Wouldn't want to be in the way when it comes down. Heading uphill here, I'll have a look down onto the river. The floor of the river comes up fairly high there, as you can see it's exposed. Comforting sound of the water. Coming up to a viewing platform. We'll go out and have a look at the river, see what else we can see. Give you some idea there of how the platypus set up their homes. It's a shot back to that high point we saw before. The water just flowing very gently. It's looking upstream. We're in a Mediterranean climate here, so summers get quite warm for the district, and very dry. Kookaburras going off again. And you can see reasonably clear water. There's a bit of a tannin stain with all the tree bark that falls in. The water itself is reasonably healthy. Gentle path. You could push a wheelchair if you wanted to, or even better if you had an electric one. There's no steps along here, just a nice gentle path. And now we're heading back downhill again, even though we're going upstream. Quite a serious tree that's come down there, and all the debris and whatnot with it. And then there's a little island in the middle. Droopiness about these leaves, which would suggest that they're a little bit heat and water stressed. Certainly more upright in the early morning walks. The ever-flowing emu. And that's the start of the island in the middle. You can just see in the top left there, it moves across. The other side of the island. Lots more debris. It's no wonder there's a tannin look to the water. But as you can see there, it's fairly clear, all things considered. Riveting facilities if you have the need. Moving on from the restrooms, toilets, lavatories, any word you want to use. Quite pleasant midday sun. We'll go up a little bit further to the spot where I have spotted a platypus in the past. We'll have a rest, see if we can coax them out. Not surprising, we haven't seen any wallabies today. It is midday. In this part of the world they tend to rest in the so-called heat of the day. It's not like up at Cradle where it's cooler all day and you'll see them all day. But put a link to the Cradle. King Billy Walk, I think, was the one that had the wallabies. But we'll see. You can see from the colour here that this is growing on rock shelf basically with very little soil. So even it's dried out. And it's normally quite moist in this part of the world. Nice view across the river. Lots of birds about. Little swallows and whatnot bouncing around. And this waterhole, I guess you'd call it, in the river. Perfect platypus country. But they're probably off meditating as well. Well, we've just spent 45 minutes, an hour waiting. No sign of any platypus today. We might head back. You never know what we'll see along the way. In and out of the shade. Lots of little birds. Magnificent wrens and whatnot. Follow the track back. Breeze is very pleasant. Past the restrooms, lavatories, toilets, your choice. Moving from the sun back into the shade of the forest. As I say, the whole thing is wheelchair safe, if a little bit steep in places. It's the very comforting sound of running water and birdsong. Quite a resource to have so close to town. The bonus about this time of the day is there's not too many people about, especially now school holidays are over. Past that one little bit of uphill, it's all downhill here back to the car. Highly recommended this walk. If you make it to this part of Tassie, and it is probably, I'm a bit biased, but it is the best part of Tassie. Close to everything worth seeing. More tourists, very uncommunicative, some of them, but you get that. It's another look at the start of the huge pile of debris. Been 3 or 4 years since we had a major flood through here, and it's still quite prominent. It's more of an unobstructed view of the great pile of debris. Quite some heavy logs in there. There's some real force in the water when she gets moving. Way up in the top of the central tree there's a cockatoo. There you go, making the cockatoo noises. And of course they've gone quiet now. Out of that open area, back into the Gondwanan Forest. It's really quite comfortable in here. Spend hours just sitting and listening, and having a picnic if you wanted to. This is the dead fronds from the tree ferns, creating leaf litter and habitat and whatnot. But even along the path, you can hear the cockies going off. And these are some older, larger tree ferns. Quite sizable. One of those walks you don't want to end. And you can see how moist it is. The fern growing there on the fern, with the moss growing there on the fallen log. It's not the depth of moss and lichen you get up at cradle, but it's still damp. And there is a nice coolth to the breeze. Not sure if you can see the little bird there, just there it goes. Very gentle. Not overly concerned with the human this close. But this place is just full of life. And all manner of places to stop and contemplate the world. Another prime platypus pool. But like all sensible people at this time of the day, they're probably having a siesta. Back on the track. And back to our first viewing platform. Have another look out there. There's a case of life always finding a way. An old stump there and a new tree growing out of it. Life is truly amazing. Now there is some bite in that sun. Let's have a quick look. Another ideal platypus spot. Fallen trees and whatnot to give them cover, but no sign today. You can see how clear the water is though. There you go. A glimpse of Gondwanaland.